And I think the point is that actually, while people might have multiple identities, and maybe the question of your allegiance, your sense of identity linked directly to the nation state may be more complex than sometimes we like to imagine. I think actually it's increasingly important for people to define themselves in some way, to have some kind of identity. In a globalized world where identities are getting blurred, it becomes more important for us, I think, to define ourselves in the great melting pot. So the question is, what makes me different from the billions of other people on the planet? Clearly, national identity, and this concept of the nation state, promoted by this summer by the Queen, by the Jubilee, of course, indeed to some extent by the Olympics, is a helpful way of doing that. And I think there's another point too, because as Britain watches global power move to the new economies of China, India, Brazil, actually in Britain, and we've been through this over a fair few decades now, we are in a sense having to redefine ourselves less by our power and by our wealth and by our territory or our property, and in other ways. And I think that in that sense, we want to look for things about us that make us different. It's really about giving us a sense of who on earth we actually think we are.
Somebody did mention to me about tradition, and I was nervous about mentioning this because I am a Tory, and everyone would say, "Oh, typical Tory going on about tradition." But I think people from all walks of life love tradition in our country, and the reason why they love it is not because they are old-fashioned or fuddy-duddies, but because it provides an anchor from one generation to the next and a source of stability. And that's why you see so many people come out when the Queen Mother died, when Lady Diana died, and for jubilees and all this sort of thing. So if I had to sum up Britain in 4 words, given what I've just said, it has to be an aspirational place, a place of opportunity, a place of community, and a place of fairness too.
So in the end, you're then thinking, well, which is the real Britain? And my feeling is they all are, actually. It's all of those things what makes up Britain. And at different times in our history, one has triumphed over the other. And obviously, all the time, we're hoping it won't be your Britain, but sometimes, sadly, it is. Just one final sort of one to leave you with, because we're hurtling towards the Olympics. It seems to have come around very quickly. We did that poll in 2006, just after it had been announced that we'd won. And what we found then was that 60% of the people in our poll said that the Olympics will offer a once-in-a-generation opportunity to show what Britain really stands for. I don't know if it will or not. We'll see. We'll find out.
But nonetheless, pubs impact on our culture, put our national identity on the world map, allow for ideas to evolve, a breeding ground for creativity. Indeed, this very pub where we sit was the birthplace of the satirical magazine Punch, and along this whole street the pub played a vital role in the newspaper industry. But the pub does not only allow for the momentous events, it also shapes our everyday lives, where the common man can come together freely and put the world to rights over a pint. Whether it be the working lunch, drinks after work, or a lazy Sunday roast, the pub allows us to connect with our neighbours, communities, strangers and friends, and these conversations can influence our thinking, our opinions and our direction. The writer Belloc said, "When you've lost your inns, drown your empty cells, for you will have lost the last of England." For that is what the pub is. It is Britain. It links us to our past, and it is filled with the yet unsaid conversations of the future, which could spark an idea to change Britain forever. And that is why the pub is an influential factor on our society.
A lot to do with price, and unfortunately pubs have been taxed out of existence to a fair extent. But you go to a coffee shop, you never talk to your neighbour. Yeah? It's not the same thing, and therefore a Starbucks will never replace what a pub is, and a pub is a centre of community, because people don't talk to each other in Starbucks. And in fact, the way we're going forward, houses are smaller and smaller. Nobody entertains at home. So what you're doing is destroying the ability for people to talk to each other and meet in a neutral ground. So it's the worst thing you could possibly be doing is putting up the prices for rural people to meet, or even in most of my regulars know each other. Yeah, they come here, they all know each other, and we're talking about a city.
The continuity of the monarchy throughout British history means that the Queen can act as a bulwark, stopping power from overflowing and becoming corrupt. Finally, it is worth noting that Commonwealth countries such as Australia have had the opportunity to get rid of the monarchy and the Queen, but have consistently chosen against this. If the monarchy was of no benefit, surely they would have got rid of the Queen as head of state. So what's best for our country? A lovely sweet drink which sticks your back teeth together, or a lovely sweet old lady who sticks your back teeth together? If you have a spare 61p, the choice is yours.
It doesn't matter what I do, I can't get that job. And I think a society that has that at its core, I think, can never totally be a society of equal opportunity. So I'm going to spend my 61 pence on camera. And they are these symbols of absolutely massive privilege and wealth. And yet I can see it works. I can hear from you that it works, and from so many other people that it works. And I sort of feel, who am I to be the absolute naysayer? And to say, for me, it absolutely doesn't work. I hate it. I'd love to see the monarchy swept away. I'd love to see a society founded really, as you say, on meritocracy and equality. And I'd love, just if I can, just to go back to one of the advocates whose point was never really picked up, the chap from Demos over there, and this idea of voluntarism. Because for me, that's the kind of Britishness I very much would like to see more celebrated. People actually, ordinary people going forward trying to make their societies better, rather than looking at this symbol of just massive wealth, privilege, and that we're all meant to kind of buy into just because it's been there for an awfully long time.
Okay, it's a perfect metaphor for Britain. We're comfortable with those new voices coming in, appropriating these people into our literary canon. And the fact is, Ian mentioned language as being important. I totally echo that. We are a nation whose language and whose literature has been appropriated by the rest of the world, and this is our exceptionalism. And it can't fail to have an effect on our side. A final example of this, which I think David touched on at the very start, the King James Bible. It's had a huge influence on British ethics, morality, and language. And we can have an argument about whether we should put it in the fiction or the non-fiction section. But as Michael Gove and Richard Dawkins both agree, it's most definitely literature. Yeah. Thank you.
The thing about literature is, in a way, it is about, literature is, if you like, the outpourings of a society. It's sort of scratching our mark on the wall, isn't it? And so in one sense, it's bound to win, because it is, if you like, our best effort at trying to understand who we are. The people who do that are trying to distill in words, and anyone wants to buy a copy, I've got 4 left. Trying to understand who we are by using words and language, and indeed the X, if it's an alphabet, this X in my book is for XXX, it's about swearing. And the British are past masters at swearing. We are the best in the world. We use the F word, well, men anyway, use the F word 28 times more than the Americans in this country. We use swear words with the same insouciance in which we sprinkle vinegar on our chips. We just love to swear. The upper classes and the working classes in this country have always sworn. It's only the middle classes who've been a bit dubious about it, and they're coming round to it too. So generally, I think that all human life is clearly in literature. And if I had to pick one of the 5, well, yes, I'm going to go for our words, our books, our literature.